Recording. Okay. I'm gonna check that. All right. As you know, because you signed up for this, we're here to talk about package and pricing best practices to reach your revenue goals. And as I said, like, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. One of kind of the things that I like to nerd out about is process and detail, which is not generally a skill set that a lot of practitioners have in terms of like operations and administrative things and business development. So I love sharing this little zone of genius that I have with other people. And also because what we're going to go over today was a huge game changer in the development of my own practice as a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. And as I was saying earlier, this is one of those popular topics that I teach on to other health practitioners in other spaces that I do business mentoring for. For example, I'm a business coach for the Mindshare Collaborative community. And it's really interesting, even working over there with some people that you might consider like influencers or celebrities in the space. When I do some coaching with them and we take a look at their packages and their pricing, we uncover some of the opportunities that we're going to talk about today to improve their revenue. And these are people that are already making 6 and 7 figures in their businesses. And this is like a missed opportunity is the package and pricing component. So we're going to go through this stuff, like I said, in detail. Hope you guys are in a present place where you can take notes. Along the way, I'm also going to talk about some opportunities where you can dive deeper into this work with me. If this just feels like a lot to take in, know that there's an opportunity to get support afterwards so that you can actually really fully grasp and implement all the things that we're going to go through today. So I'm just curious, so I can get to know you guys a little bit more, understand what your needs are. And so I can really kind of tailor the talk to you today and give you the most value out of it, which is why it's so important to show up live sometimes of these things, because you get like this one-on-one coaching opportunity. But I have a couple questions for you guys here so that I can just get some context about like, where you are, what some of your thoughts are in relationship to your health business. So I'm curious with you guys, like, how many of you here find yourself like wondering how many clients it's going to take to build financial stability? Because I find that this is a question that comes up a lot of times in conversation with practitioners that I do business coaching with. Like, they're always kind of feeling overwhelmed at the idea of, well, how many clients do I have to take on every single month in order to, generate revenue and be profitable? So I'm just curious for you guys, let me know in the chat, like, is this a thing that you wonder about also? Are you kind of at a state in your business where you're wondering how many clients it's going to take you to build financial stability? So Wendy, Ryan, Kristen, Alice, go ahead and let me know in the chat if this is something that you guys wonder about. And along with that, are you guys, with where you are in your packages right now, what kinds of results are you getting with your clients at this point in time? Are you finding that your clients are being compliant in the way that you're working right now? Or are you worried about compliancy? Are your clients getting results with the way that you're working with them and the current structure? Or, like I see, Wendy, you just kind of mentioned here that you're just getting started, so you're kind of fumbling your way through. So are you trying to figure out, how to offer packages or how to build a package that encourages better client results? Because the way that we structure the packages is actually how we set clients up for success. So if you find that clients are not compliant to following through, or they're not showing up for appointments, or they're not getting great results, that could all be from the way that you're offering your services currently. And so maybe the desire is to actually have service offerings that encourage better clients and better results. So let me know if this is something that you're experiencing or kind of feeling as well. Kristen is saying most of them are compliant and get good results, but every once in a while, there's one that doesn't listen very well. Yes, this is true. There's always those. And Dr. Rose says things are slow right now, and my slow time is 3 months sooner than usual. Interesting, Dr. Rose. Well, I find that I don't necessarily have a slow time in my business. And so maybe the things we'll talk about today might be helpful for you. Here's a great question also. I'm curious if you guys know if you're charging enough to cover your expenses. So do you actually know what your expenses are related to your services? Like, what is your overhead? What does it cost to run the program? Or what are some of the hard costs, or what we call COGS, of your packages? Do you know if you're covering your expenses for working with a client? Does anybody know that they are? Or is that something that you guys are not sure about? Because honestly, in the beginning, I didn't really know either. I was kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping that my pricing was working out for me. And it wasn't until I went through this process that I'm going to take you guys through that I was like, okay, let me actually like calculate this up and look at this and make sure that I am actually covering any like expenses, hard costs that are involved in the work that we do. For example, like the cost of a lab test, or maybe if there's a fee to do like a medical director or clinical advisor consult along with a lab test that you might be doing with a client. Are we, considering that with our pricing to make sure that those expenses are covered and taken care of? And here's the last big one. I mean, I think all of you guys probably strive for this, but how many of you want to free up time while making more money? Doesn't that sound nice? Like to actually work less, but make more money at the same time? Because that was one of the reasons why I got into being a health practitioner, coming out of the corporate wellness space and the fitness industry before that, and working in corporate types of environments that were very restrictive when it came to my time and flexibility. In fact, you guys may have heard me mention this about my story before, is that one of my last employers at the corporate wellness, in the corporate wellness industry, actually fired me because my mom was terminally ill and I was leaving. I would come in early on Fridays and I would leave early on Fridays to drive from San Diego to Santa Barbara through LA traffic, which any of you guys are familiar with LA traffic, it is terrible, on a Friday, just to go visit her on the weekends and spend as much time with her as possible. And they didn't like that. And so that was kind of this moment for me where I decided that I needed to make the leap out of the corporate world, actually really invest and commit to being a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner or health practitioner, because I had been dragging my feet and kind of doing it on the side. And that's when I just decided that no more. Like I wanted a career that freed up my time so that I could be with my loved ones, take better care of my own personal health, and also make a good, living doing that, essentially. So the tactics that I'm going to show you guys today about structuring your package and your pricing are actually going to set the foundation for that to be possible as well. Now, I told you a little bit about my story already, but I feel like we've got some new people on here that maybe I haven't had a chance to really interact with yet too much. So I really want to take a moment just to introduce myself, tell you a little bit about me, kind of some of my background and how I've come to gain some of the expertise and skill sets to teach you today. Excuse me, I had a cough. Okay. So like I just mentioned, some of my, experience has been in the fitness industry, running multi-million-dollar fitness facilities. I also then moved into corporate wellness and helped 2 new corporate wellness companies grow rapidly, and was the VP of strategic wellness planning in that space. As I said, that was my last corporate job. And then I made that leap into, basically being a functional health practitioner and establishing a coaching business. And that first year that I really fully committed to being a full-time practitioner, I made $75,000 that first year and matched what I was making in the corporate space. And then the next year I doubled it and then doubled it again, utilizing the approaches to packaging that I'm going to teach you guys today. And when I look back at these other jobs that I have, it's always so interesting. We look back at the experiences that we've had in life, and we're going to talk a little bit about this in relation to your ideal client and your niche. We can see how those experiences have molded and shaped us to, the current state and the job and the work that we're doing, or how we're like impacting people in this current moment, right? And so when I look back at my, experience in the fitness industry, like running a fitness, running $1 million fitness gym facility, and having to coach personal trainers on, making money, basically, like how to structure their offers for their coaching, for their personal packages, and how to be successful in that kind of way. And I like loved doing that so much, people to create their own success. And then in corporate wellness, like working as a VP of strategic wellness planning, this really taught me like how to strategically structure different programs to engage people in the program, which is going to be important when we think about, how to design and structure your packages that are going to produce compliance and engagement and ultimately better results for clients, because they're going to show up engaged, in that process. And so it's so funny how these skill sets have transferred over. And when I became a functional health practitioner, I never envisioned really becoming a business coach in this capacity, but it just kind of organically happened, because as I started to create success in my own health business, then other health practitioners started reaching out to me. And this was back in, I don't know, 2014 or something like that, asking me what I was doing to create success. And so I started sharing some of my tactics with them. They started having success, and I found that I really loved what I was doing and working with them, and that I had actually figured some things out along the way, and had a different approach than maybe other business trainings that you might find out there in the industry and in the marketplace. So that's what I'm here to share with you basically today, is like this journey that I've, been on personally, what I've tested, what's failed, what I found has worked for me, as well as hundreds of other practitioners at this point in time. And I'll be the first to admit that it took me a while to figure out my packages when I first started my functional health practitioner business. Like, despite the training and the input that mentors gave me about creating packages, when I first got started, I offered customized packages for every client that walked through my virtual practice door. Because at the time, I thought I was doing the right thing by creating personalized packages for every client, and based on, their symptoms and their budget. However, by doing this, it led to a lot of disorganization and overwhelm that took up a ton of my time. And it distracted me not only from doing things to get more clients through the door, but also from being fully present with the clients that I had, basically. And instead of presenting myself as the expert, what I realized is that I was essentially an order taker. And as an outcome, I wasn't getting results with my business or with my clients. They weren't following through. So I decided, okay, I've got to give this package thing a try that all these other mentors and, training programs have talked about. And that idea was kind of quickly crushed when I realized that the typical package approach wasn't meeting my clients' needs. As a functional, health practitioner, we work in this really unique way. And I stepped into my first kind of round of doing packages, or my first try at doing packages, was adopting the typical 90-day and 6-month program approach that's taught in just about every business training out there. And, but what was happening is that this approach, this time frame specific approach, like I said, wasn't really meeting my clients' needs. And for those of you that are doing lab tests, not everybody does lab tests. If there's some people not doing lab tests here, let me know, and I can kind of show you how to take this piece and how it still applies to you. But I think most of you guys are doing lab tests that are here. When we're running lab tests, it's practically impossible to predict exactly what's going to come back on a lab test, right? To indicate what a client's needs are, how long their protocol will be, and how long it will take them to feel better. So for example, in the method that I know in terms of addressing, let's say, gut bugs like pathogens. So I run a GI map test, and on that GI map test, or it might come back with parasites, bacteria, and yeast overgrowth. Well, in the method that I apply to address pathogens, each one of those pathogen could be a separate 2-month protocol. So that, if they have one of each type of gut bug, that becomes a 6-month protocol. And if I sold them into, a 6-month program, it takes them time to ramp up, to kind of get started, to change their diet, to add in some of their foundational supplements, and then eventually get started into that pathogen protocol, where really the time frame in which we need to work together is more like 8 months. And so what was happening is that the clients that I enrolled in these timeframe specific programs ended up needing more than 90 days or even 6 months, based on the lifestyle recommendations that were guided by their test results. And like I said, adding in their supplements and making some dietary changes, just those few things take a month. And then, then starting that pathogen protocol based on what came back on their stool sample test. And so I ended up feeling terrible selling them into a program that really wasn't seeing them to the end of the transformation that I had promised during the consultation. So needless to say, the specific timeframe package approach isn't always the right fit for functional health practitioners like us, who are running a series of lab tests and guiding clients through a transformational healing process, right? Like sometimes we need some flexibility to meet clients where they are. And that's when I decided to break the mold of the typical practitioner package approach, that timeframe specific stuff, and develop packages that would actually fit my clients' needs and my needs too. And once I did that, where I was once like kind of struggling to make ends meet, it became normal for me to have like $15,000 days. And now there's a nice cushion of money in my bank account as well, which allows me to do and live the dream that I had originally, right? To free up my time and make more money so that I could do the things that I'm most passionate about in life, which one of those things is traveling the world, stress-free, because I know that money is stable and it's taken care of, and my clients are engaged and they're getting results. And so today I'm going to show you basically this formula, like what I've done, how I've broken it down to create this kind of like financial stability, this revenue in my business based on this particular formula for the package approach. So my promise to you today is that we're going to cover some main things. One is that we're going to talk about what to consider when designing your packages, as I alluded to, in order to deliver transformational client results. And ultimately, when we're delivering amazing results and engaging clients and creating this transformational experience for them, they are then going to send you referrals. Like 90% of my business is referral based, and it always has been, even though you guys might see me on social media. And yes, I have quite a social media presence on Instagram, and I have an email list. A lot of that has been built in over time, and the clients that I've worked with is based on word of mouth referral, because of the experience that I provide for people. We're also going to talk about how to charge what you're worth to be profitable. So like considering what are some of those expenses, instead of just throwing spaghetti on the wall, like looking at your package and going, oh, that looks like a $5,000 package or $3,000 package. We actually want to detail it out to make sure that you're charging what you're worth in terms of like all the time that you're contributing to working with this client, and grow your confidence to charge more in the future, based on where you might be starting at. And then we're going to take a look at that information and talk about setting monthly income goals and the steps to achieve them. Like, what are the targets that you need to work towards in order to achieve that financial freedom and ultimately time freedom and joy that you're looking for in the work that you do. Does that all sound good? Give me a yes in the chat. If we're here for this, I'm here for this. Right now, I think we've had a couple more people join on with us. So great, I see some thumbs up. Awesome, you guys. So let's first start with connecting in with what your actual big business vision is, because this is going to help us to answer the question later about the steps that it takes to achieve your revenue goals. So I really want you guys to take a moment, maybe close your eyes, take a deep breath, and set aside any limiting beliefs or factors that might get in the way of you claiming and owning how much money that you want to make per month. Because this is actually the starting point. We want to understand what this goal is, then we can reverse engineer everything around it and create a strategic plan to work towards this goal. So I hear all the time, like practitioners will say, like I said earlier, how many clients do you think I need per month to make good money? In our head, we think we need a lot of clients, maybe to generate great revenue. But if you price yourself right, as we're going to walk through today, you'll see that you probably maybe need less clients than you think to make a good living doing what you love, which ultimately kind of creates this space and freedom in your time. So understanding how many clients you need actually starts with knowing how much money do you want to make. And from there, we're going to create packages that will be the stepping stones to help you achieve your financial goals. So let me know. You guys are being a little bit quiet here in the chat, but let's claim it and own it right now. How much money do you want to be making per month? No matter how big or small it might be. Like when I work with practitioners, this dollar amount ranges for everybody. You know, some people feel confident in claiming $2,000 a month because maybe they're not doing any work right now. They've been healing themselves for a while. Others shoot high and they want 20K per month or 50K per month. So let's claim it and name it and own it right now. To put in the chat, what is your big money goal per month? What do you envision? What would be the dollar amount that would let you maybe leave your job, the other full-time job or side job that you have? What would be the dollar amount that would give you the freedom and potentially to go on trips and pay to do things and feel really good about your work? What does that look like? So Wendy's here, she's with me. We got 10K. Who else? Dr. Rose, what is that for you? 10. Mary's a 5K. Awesome. We've got a range here. Ryan, what do you got? Kristen, what do you got here for us too? Would love to know. What's your guys' goal? Christina, Alice, like what are you striving for? 15K from Kristen. Great. And everybody's at their own place in their business journey. So it's no highs or lows or not comparing ourselves to anybody. This is personal for us, right? It's our personal needs. So, well, like I said, once we know what this goal is, then we can design our packages in order to help us achieve the goal. So these are the next steps that we're going to go through is how do we actually design packages to help us reach our financial goals? And at the same time, how do these packages also help us to free up our time, help to engage the clients in getting really, really great results? So as I mentioned earlier, I love to nerd out on process and administrative stuff. And when I sat down to really look at my packages, I just felt like, you know, when I initially took that 6-month, 90-day approach, I was like, well, that stuff's kind of like vague, you know, and it's for a lot of general types of coaches, like life coaches or health coaches, but really taking a look at like who we are as functional health practitioners. A lot of us are running lab testing and working with more complex types of clients. I think that there are way more things, a lot more things that we need to consider than this general approach that most coaches are taking or most, you know, practitioners are taking in a sense. So in order to design our packages and to service our clients and create this transformational experience, we really need to think through the details. So here's a list of things that I want you to all consider when it comes to what is your package, your program offering include. And the first thing is the type of sessions that you offer. So I find, you know, having coached hundreds of functional health practitioners in the space, that as functional health practitioners, we oftentimes have a couple of different types of sessions, which is, again, often different from other types of coaches and the way that they operate and what you would receive in a typical business training, right? And so I'll give you some examples of the different types of sessions that I have so that you can take a look at the way that you could best work with your clients and service them to create this transformational experience, and determine what are the types of sessions that you either need to have or that you might currently have, right? So for me, I have 3 primary types of sessions. One is a results review session. So the results review session is about 90 minutes long. And that's once I get all of the lab tests and the intake forms from that client. I sit down, I analyze those things, put together a summary, my recommendations, a protocol, and then I meet with the client to go over that in a 90-minute like Zoom appointment, basically. So that's one type. And then the second type of session that I have is ongoing coaching sessions. So after they do the results review session, then we have ongoing follow-up appointments after that. So then I'll move them to like a 45-minute appointment structure. And after we do the results review, then we go over their supplements in detail so they can start taking them and their goals in the next follow-up appointment. That's 45 minutes. Then the next follow-up appointment after that, we start diving into like making some changes around diet. And I'll move them through a couple of 45 minutes appointments, like going through an evolution with their diet and going through different phases and transitioning it. Then we'll talk about sleep. And then about a couple sessions in, usually about 6 sessions in, is then when I'll have the third type of session. And the third type of session is what I call a reassessment session. And I want you guys to hear this very loud and clear, and for this to really stick with you, is that the reassessment session is something that helps to keep them engaged and compliant in the program. So the reassessment session, the way that I use it, is it's intended to help them, to help us reassess and to track their progress and to have a very clear discussion or appointment around what their progress has been, so that they can see that they've made progress for one, right? Because sometimes, how many of you guys have clients that like, you know, in sessions, they're like, I just feel like I've hit a plateau and nothing's working, when really you can see the progress that they're making every day, but you know, because they're seeing themselves every day, they can't really understand the change that's happening, or they forget how bad that they used to feel because they feel so good now. And so they start to feel like things are dwindling and they start to kind of like ghost you or go MIA. So the reassessment session anchors them in by showing them how much progress that they've made. And then it also sets the stage for the continued work that probably needs to happen at that point in time as well, too. So to facilitate the reassessment session and track that progress, I simply have them redo some of the intake forms that they did in the beginning. That shows them, gives them a subjective score to show them the progress that they've made. And at that time, if it's relevant to do any retesting, like retest the GI map or something like that, then we'll do retesting at that point in time, and I'll include that information in the progress update and have about a 45 or 60-minute appointment to go over that with them. So those are the 3 types of sessions, like I said, examples that I have that I consider in my packages. And then depending on how big the package is, how much time that we're working together, then I can decide how many of each type of session that there would be. So one results review session always, maybe if in my ideal scenario, like to work with my most perfect ideal client, I want to work with them over 18 sessions, for example. And so I will do a reassessment session every 6 sessions to keep checking in on that progress and keeping them anchored into their program and what it is that they're doing, and showing them that they're making progress and what it is that they need to work on next, basically. So once you know what types of sessions you have, then you need to think about, as I've already mentioned, what is the length of the session? What is the amount of time that you're giving in these appointments? Because we need to account for your time and make sure that you're charging what you're worth, like how much that you're giving, that you're getting something in return for that. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more coming up. And as I've mentioned, like my reassessment session is 90 minutes, or excuse me, results review is 90 minutes, ongoing coaching sessions are 45 minutes, and then reassessment sessions are like 45 to 60 minutes, right? So now I can start to account for my time and make sure that I am structuring my pricing and my packages to cover my time and make sure that I'm actually profitable in the work that I'm doing. Then you want to determine the number of sessions. So to determine the number of sessions, what I want you guys to think about first is the most ideal scenario, like the most ideal client where there's no money limitations, there's no time limitations. Like, how much would you want to work with them in order to get them the most optimal results? And along with this, you may want to think about some of the other unique skills that you bring to the table and how you're blending that work together and how many sessions that you might want to have to blend that work together. So for example, I'm also trained in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, which is like mindset work. And I love doing that work with clients. And it's been a huge part of my own personal journey in doing that work to achieve, my greatest transformation and health results. And so, as I mentioned, like my biggest package has 18 sessions. And the reason that it has 18 sessions is because I go over all of the kind of like lifestyle topics with people, which I kind of alluded to. Like I have the results review, supplement session, couple of diet sessions, couple of sleep sessions. Then I talk about exercise, and then I talk about meditation, mental, emotional tools, then toxins. And then we move into the deeper mindset work to rewire their mindset and their belief systems so that all the changes that they're making throughout the way stick. And that produces the ultimate transformation in my experience and my method. And so because of that, I want 18 sessions to go through all of that with somebody. I've outlined specifically what my method is, what I'm addressing in every single session is a topic, so that I have a roadmap to take that client through. And there's flexibility within the roadmap. If I need to change the order of a topic, that's totally fine. But it helped me outline what the journey is for that client specifically. And that also, when I did that initially, that gave me a lot of confidence to speak to you in like a consultation or a discovery call about, how I worked with people and what people could expect, instead of, again, just kind of going, well, we're going to work for 6 months together and 2 sessions a month, and kind of just going, well, I'm going to wing it. Not really sure what I'm going to do necessarily, right? Like just going to show up and kind of talk to them and see where they're at and coach. And instead of being intentional about delivering value every single time. So once you decide what your most ideal number of sessions looks like, that creates this framework, as you're going to see, for creating your biggest package offering, which then sets the tone for you to create like a package just below that, like what is, if we take that biggest package, okay, it like in that ideal scenario, then how can we create a package that's a little bit smaller than that, and maybe even create a third package that's a little bit smaller than that, so that you've got some options to meet people where they are, because maybe not everybody needs the deep mindset work. Like I don't necessarily want to work 18 sessions with every single person, but so my middle package has 12 sessions, because I do know that is where I get a lot of results. And then at a minimum, my smallest package has 6 sessions, because then I know that at a minimum, I need to meet with somebody 6 times in order for them to really experience some progress and some true transformation, right? So you want to consider the number of sessions that you're having. And then you want to also consider what lab tests are going to be included. And this is really hard for practitioners sometimes, because we're like, well, it depends on what they show up with and what their conditions are. But here's the key, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this at the end, is that what's important, like what helps to create the foundation for success with your packages, is actually knowing your niche. Because when you know your niche, you are attracting a common person with common problems that needs similar solutions into your practice. And so therefore you can predict, okay, I'm going to need to run this set of labs with every ideal person that I work with. And so now we can account for that. And also with these levels of your packages, like my biggest package has 5 lab tests, and then my middle package has 3 lab tests, and it's the 3 most important lab tests out of the 5, right? Because I'm attracting a niche into my work. So it becomes a little predictable in that kind of way, where this is the starting point that we have with every single person. And with lab tests, there's a couple things that I want you guys to think about here too, is what are the labs that are going to give you the most bang for your buck, money wise, in terms of how much information can you get out of it? How many clues can you get? Also, what are the labs that are most accessible for your clients to do? Like if you're working with clients internationally, like I am, I know like at one point in time, I switched from a cortisol saliva hormone test over to the Dutch test. One, because I love the Dutch test. I do feel like it gives more clues. But two, because it was way easier to work with clients internationally doing a Dutch test because they didn't have to ship it like frozen or on specific days or anything like that, right? So think about what lab tests are going to be most accessible to the types of clients that you're working with and where they're working. And then also, what lab tests are going to be easiest for your clients to be compliant with. So when I started in the beginning, I had an intestinal permeability test as part of my packages, because that was something that I learned in my training program. And I think it's like a really cool test, and it was really cheap. It was like $89. And so I was using that with clients. And then I started to notice that clients were really dragging their feet on completing that test. It was really hard for them to figure it out, because if you guys are familiar with that test, you have to drink like a sugary mixture and then collect urine for like over the course of 6 hours. And it felt really overwhelming and complicated for them. And I had to take a step back and go, this is creating friction in their ability to move forward. It's actually making them non-compliant in the program. And do I really need this intestinal permeability test to tell me that they have leaky gut, or can I make that assessment based on the other tests and information that I'm doing? So being able to look at like a GI map test, a food sensitivity test, assess kind of their symptoms and those correlating factors. I was like, I can be pretty solid most times they've got leaky gut. I think everybody comes along with that. So I nixed that test from my packages because it was preventing clients from actually being able to be compliant and move forward. So those are some things to think about with your test. And then I want you to think about other things outside of your sessions. And this is where, as practitioners, we tend to miss the ball quite a bit here with this one. Is that we don't think about all of the time that we're putting in, or the things that we're doing outside of session time with somebody, outside of an appointment. And this can be the most costly thing for you and you and your business, excuse me, is when we're not thinking about these things. So I love when practitioners are like, well, I have like unlimited Voxer or text messaging or WhatsApp with my clients. And I'm like, okay, but how are you accounting for your time with that? Because that takes up your time away from something else that's actually, costing you money in some way. And while it's totally okay to message your clients in that kind of way, let's put some containers around that and be really specific about, certain hours that you're available for messaging. Or like one of the things that I've done to create a container for client communication and interaction in between appointments is you're going to see, like, I have specifically listed in my package design something that I called mid-session check-in emails. So I've created an expectation and a container for when we communicate in between appointments. We are then, going to, they're going to get an email from me halfway in between to give them accountability to their action items, and also to like give them the support that they might be looking for. Other things that you need to think about is like, how much time does it take you to sit down and analyze test results and intake form data and put together a summary of recommendations and a protocol for them, right? So how much time does it take you to prep for just an ongoing follow-up appointment or a reassessment? We want to be detailing out and configuring all of our time. Now, on that note, there's one thing that I want to mention that I haven't really gone into detail a little bit about yet, and is this concept behind the number of sessions and breaking the model, the typical model of the time frame specific. So remember I mentioned earlier that I was telling my story and I said how like the time frame specific program wasn't really working for me because it's hard to predict exactly what's going to come back on lab test and how long the protocol is going to be and how much time that they're going to need. So when I looked at that and I was experiencing that, I said, what can I do differently? And that's when I kind of outlined like the topics that I would want to take somebody through, that I want the lifestyle changes that I want to move them through to in order to create results and success. How many sessions would that be? And then also recognizing and working with some of my ideal clients, I was meeting with them weekly and it wasn't working for them. They were showing up to calls feeling defeated because they hadn't had a chance to actually implement or make the changes that we had talked about in a previous session. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to meet with my clients every 2 weeks in the beginning. And then as they got more comfortable and compliant, I'm going to space those out every 3 weeks and then every 4 weeks, because my intention in the work that I do with people is to empower them to be their own health boss. Basically, I don't want them to be reliant on me. And also, so having a number of sessions in a package instead of a time frame gave me the flexibility to structure the appointments in that kind of way and to meet them where they are. So we could meet every 2 weeks for as long as we needed to in order to make sure that they felt comfortable and compliant doing the work, and then space it out every 3 weeks. And even at the point where I've spaced out every 3 weeks or every 4 weeks with somebody, if something arises where they need some extra support, we have the flexibility to schedule a session sooner to give them that support. This also helps to free up time in your schedule. So when you're in time frame specific and you've made a commitment to meet with people, twice a month, you only have so much time in a month. So there is a capacity to the number of clients in that structure that you can meet with every month, right? Based on what I've done in doing a number of sessions instead of a time frame and how I have the flexibility to space things out, it's constantly creating space in my calendar. I'll start with somebody every 2 weeks and they move to every 3 weeks, which creates more space in my calendar for somebody else to come in at a 2-week cadence. And there's constant space and fluctuation that's happening. So I never really reach a capacity. I think at the height of my busiest time as a health coach, because I do more business coaching now, I had 42 active clients and I was running group programs at the same time. So probably supporting over 100 people all at once by myself as a health coach. So I want to pause here for just a second. We've gone over a lot of information. I want to check in and see if there's any timely questions in relation to the content we covered so far. So go ahead and type them in the chat real quick, or if you want to unmute yourself and come on, that's totally fine too. So I'm going to take a sip of water, wait a moment, see if there's any questions from you guys. Any questions? Everybody must got it. Can also just, if there's no questions, let me know that you're with me. Say got it, raise a hand. We're here for it. Anybody want to unmute? Got it. All right. Okay, cool. We'll keep moving on then. All right. So we've gone through all the things to consider.
I have a question.
Oh yeah. Jump right in, Ren.
Sorry, I was trying to chat. It was taking me too long though, or on the chat. So, yeah, so I know you mentioned you have for the different sessions that you offer depending on the package. So you're saying, so just to clarify, so you're saying that could kind of be different time frames depending on where they're at, because you might meet with them, you might meet with some clients for 2 weeks, maybe for, let's say, a couple months, versus maybe another client needs 2-week sessions for a little bit longer period of time, depending on kind of where they're at.
Exactly. So the cadence of the sessions might change per person. I go into it with an intention of, okay, we're going to start every 2 weeks for maybe 3 or 4 sessions, and then we'll start spacing them out every 3 weeks and then every 4 weeks. But I'll really make those decisions as I'm working with somebody to see where they're at and how much support that they need at that time. So when I'm in a discovery call, a consultation, and explaining to somebody how the packages work and going over it's a number of sessions, I'll say something like this. The total transformation includes 18 sessions, and on average, based on us meeting every 2 weeks and then every 3 weeks and then eventually every 4 weeks, this package will last somebody about 9 to 12 months. Is that helpful?
No, that makes sense. Yeah, because I was wondering too, like if you ever have anybody, like once they get to the end of, their last session, if they ever sign up for like additional sessions or coaching.
Yeah, they totally do. And Kristen had a similar question to that in the beginning. I'm going to save that one towards the end once you guys see the full structure of the packages.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes. And then Kristen is saying in the chat, do you let them book themselves using your calendar, or do you sit down with them and choose slots? We give clients specific booking instructions and some of them still can't seem to figure it out. This is a compliancy tactic. So in the beginning, I have systems and automation in place. The only time that I let them self-book is when they're doing their discovery call, because they're going through a form on my website. And then they get automated emails to book. And if they don't book something within a certain time frame, like a couple emails, it flags me to let me know so that I can reach out to them and follow up. And then the other scenario is when they're booking that first results review session. So once I complete the results, once I finish putting together my summary and protocol, they get automated emails to book their results review session, and they'll get reminder emails to do that until they book. And if they don't book, I get notified so I can personally reach out to them. But the compliance tactic after that, Kristen, is at the end of each call, I book their next appointment, because I'm setting that cadence, right, of like the expectation of when we're going to meet. And also people get distracted, like sending them, like, you're there in the moment. Why not book the call with them right there in that moment and set an expectation? It also holds them accountable to like, cool, here's the action items that we talked about. Your homework from our session today, and let's book your next appointment for 2 weeks from now. So now they're like, they've got a deadline to work on those action items, right? So I really recommend, like, best practices to book that next appointment at the end of the session once you're engaging in sessions with them, basically. So awesome. So let's actually talk about creating, a first class experience with clients. And that's a little bit of that tactic that I was just sharing in relation to, both Kristen's question and also in talking to Ryan about the cadence of working with people, is really understanding how to meet clients where they are, like your ideal clients. What is their experience? What is it that they need? How can you best support them and deliver to basically like get them results, right? And again, when we are, niched in and we're attracting our ideal person, it's a common person with common problems that need similar solutions. And we can start to identify some of those patterns and themes of what people are going to need, and make sure that we're structuring our packages in the way that we work with people and the way that's going to set them up for success. And as I like to say, exceptional service sells itself and results in those effortless referrals, like I said before. So clients are going to be more inclined to refer or buy from you when you go beyond their expectations, when you provide an amazing experience. So I like to say, be the Ritz-Carlton of health consulting. It goes through like taking that moment at the end of each appointment to book their next session is actually like a first class service, right? It's like holding them accountable, setting them up for success, having reminder emails to book their appointments, like I was talking about. And here's a couple other ways, or a couple other things that I do that I've thought about in the design of my packages and how I work with people in order to create that first class experience and make a huge difference in their lives. Because this is also something that I want you guys to think about, is a lot of the people that come to work with us in the functional health space, they've been screwed, right? Like by the conventional space. And at least that's how they're feeling. Like nobody's listening to them. Nobody cares. They've been, they've tried a million things, nothing's working, and they're looking for somebody who can really like help them. And so we can help them feel heard. We can help them feel supported by creating an amazing experience. So some of the things that I like to include in my packages to help create that experience are what I call extras that can enhance the experience. So with every single one of my clients, they get a welcome gift. And the welcome gift is great. It does a couple of things for them. One is that, no matter how confident you are when you make a big investment, don't you always kind of walk away and go, shit, did I really do the right thing? I don't know. I hope so. And so they get this welcome gift as a surprise a couple days after they enroll in one of my programs. And it solidifies for them that they made the right decision. It makes them feel good. Also, it gives them something to kind of like play with or do while we're waiting to get all their lab test results back, because there's like this delay of the time that they enroll and then they get the lab test and then they have to do their samples. And we may not actually start our work together for about 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes 6, if it's a female in her cycle in the testing window, before we work together. And so the welcome gift contains some of my favorite things like samples for them to try. So like doTERRA essential oils or my favorite electrolytes or Megaspore probiotic that they can start taking right away. That's going to help to improve their digestion. Like, I don't know about you guys, but every client I've ever put on Megaspore probiotic always has the most amazing experience and instantly feels the improvement there. And so, and I put a little handwritten note in there saying like, you know, so excited to be working with you. And here's some of my favorite things that are going to help you along the way. One of the things in there also is a supplement organizer, so that after we do the results review session and we talk about supplements and they're feeling really overwhelmed about organizing their supplements, I'm like, remember that supplement organizer I sent you? That thing's going to come in handy now. And so it helps them feel good about the journey and the process as well too. And the bonus, another bonus about this is if you share products with them that you're a referral partner for or an affiliate for, if they fall in love with these products, then it's going to help to develop another, like a passive stream of revenue for you, right? So they love Element or they love doTERRA, they're going to come to me to buy more of those products, which then that starts to fulfill another stream of revenue in my business, right? The other thing that I like to include is an encouragement gift. So this is like when somebody gets halfway through their program, and this is for my 2ist high level programs, I will send them a gift halfway through that helps to keep them motivated. Like as we were talking before, the reassessments are one of the tools that I use to help keep them motivated. And oftentimes clients will get into like 6 sessions or so. And again, they'll start to like feel like, well, I've kind of hit a plateau. Nothing's really happening anymore. But we all know that there's more work to do. So the encouragement gift is something that would be aligned in the current work that we're doing or something that's going to be the next step. So one of the most popular encouragement gifts that I send is a HeartMath device. Because with my niche, I work with busy, health-minded professionals who are super A-type and they don't think that they're ever stressed, yet their body is always in a sympathetic kind of state. So the HeartMath device helps them to create awareness around their sympathetic response and helps them to work on the concept of coherence and creating a more parasympathetic kind of mode in their body. So they love that. Sometimes I do a Fitbit. Sometimes, you know, I have some really great colleagues and friends in the entrepreneur space that have very complementary programs, online programs or books or things like that, that are more about mindset or self-work or energetic work. And so sometimes I might give one of those things away. The important thing to note here about the encouragement gift is this is when I look at my packages breakdown, the encouragement gift is a $200 value. So I will give them, I have this like, you know, list of different types of encouragement gifts, all under at $200 or under $200. And I will choose something unique for them at that moment, which helps to create that experience. And then also you're going to see in the packages, we want to, you know, account for that $200 value. And then in my biggest package, the one that has 18 sessions that I mentioned before, I also include the first round of supplements. So this helps you to like maybe overcome some of the questions about supplement costs or some of the apprehension that people have about that. Is what that means is that once I put together their protocol, I will purchase and send them the first bottle of every supplement that I'm recommending, and then refills are their responsibility, basically, right? So it's that first class service. Like when you go to the Ritz-Carlton, they just like the bottle of wine's already sitting in the room for you. They do everything for you, right? It's creating that experience. All right. So we've kind of talked about all these logistical things to include in your packages. And we're going to get to a point where we're going to put all that together. But before we get there, I want to talk about charging what you're worth, because we've talked a lot about your time. What are the different types of sessions that you're having? How much time are you doing in each of those sessions? And then how much time are you spending outside of sessions that you need to account for? And your time is worth money. So we need to make sure that you're charging what you're worth. So you have to decide, one, what is your time worth? And also, two, what are you confident in asking for? Because if you aren't confident in asking for a certain dollar amount, that energy and vibration is going to come through on a discovery call, and that person on the other side is going to pick up on it, and they're going to lack confidence in what it is that you're offering them as well. So in order to determine our pricing, we do need to come up with a dollar amount per hour. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be selling single sessions. We're talking about packages here because we know that single sessions don't get people results. Nobody gets the results that they need in one single session. People want transformation and they invest in transformation. So we're going to be selling them a package. But in order to calculate the price of your package, we need to know what your time is worth and how much time you're putting in. So you could do, in order to decide what this rate is, this hourly rate, to do this calculation, you can look at what is the going market rate. This question, I get this question a lot. And on average, functional health practitioners are at about $200 an hour. Like, some people are way higher than that, and some people are less than that. So that's why that is the average. But then also, we want to compare that versus your gut check. Whatever the going market rate is, or what you see other people doing, where's your confidence level with that? So, and most importantly, you want to do what feels right. So I'll give you an example of how I started with this is, when I first got started as a practitioner and I didn't have a ton of experience yet, I was making $65 an hour doing the work that I was doing. And I just knew that when I went into this career path that I wanted to make more money than I was making before. I valued my time and I had invested in this education. So I decided to start at $75 an hour with a goal of increasing that to $100 an hour and then eventually $150 an hour. So that was my comfortable step up, right? And when we do our package calculations, what I also want you guys to choose is choose a rate that's going to be your take home rate. So at a minimum, per hour, what do you want to be making? And then I also want you to think about your perceived package value. And your perceived package value can be thought of in a couple different ways. One is if you were going to sell a single session, how much would it cost versus the fact that they get it in a package, it's at a discount, right? So we see this a lot, like personal trainers, acupuncturists, massage therapists, chiropractors do this, oh, well, if you buy one appointment or session, it's $100. But if you buy a package of 5, then the session rate goes down to $90 an hour, right? We're incentivizing the commitment to the work together. So your perceived package value could be what would that single session cost be? Or you could think about it of this is what I'm going to raise my prices to. So my take home rate that I wanted in the beginning was $75 an hour, but my perceived rate was $100 an hour, for example, so that I could also show the value of what the package looks like. So when we know these numbers and we have all the things that we've talked about, the list of inclusions, everything that we, how we work with somebody, the design of the package, how many numbers, the number of sessions that are in there, the types of sessions, we could calculate our time. So this picture right here is an example of one of my package calculations where I've calculated in the things that we've talked about considering, what are the cost of the lab tests, any costs associated with the lab tests, whether that's ordering fees, medical director or clinical advisor, appointment fees, if you're doing anything like that. Am I paying for the lab test versus the client paying for the lab test? And then I've calculated all of my time to assess the intake forms and do that analysis. I've calculated the retail value of the supplements, the coaching sessions, the time in session and the time outside of sessions. And then the mid-session check-in communications that I mentioned earlier, like my time to like send the email and then receive receive a reply and maybe send a short reply back. I've calculated my time for the reassessment sessions to be in session and prep for those sessions. And then also the welcome gift and the encouragement gift, some of those hard costs. So I calculated this on 2 levels. One was, what is the actual package rate? So the actual package rate is up here at the top. It's $7,823 versus the perceived value is $9,598. So that differential between here's what the rate is, like that take home rate at a minimum that I want to be making, versus if somebody were to like purchase all these things individually, that cost is going to be higher. And so this is how we could also show them the value of the service, right? It's actually valued at $9,500, but you're getting it at $7,800. So see how much more detailed this is and how we can actually now account for all of our time and all the inclusions to make sure that we're generating revenue and being profitable. These are a lot of details that most people aren't thinking about in terms of their packages. So this is when I applied this formula. This is when I started to create financial stability in my business. It's also when I started to get more transformational results with clients because I had a process, a package that I was taking them through, designed to deliver a transformational experience for them, right? So I want to check in with you guys. We've been covering a lot of details. So far, we've covered, based on what we promised in the beginning, we talked about setting that monthly income goal. We're going to be coming back to that next, the steps to achieve that goal. We talked about what to consider when creating packages. We talked about creating a transformational experience that's going to result in those endless referrals. And we just talked about charging what you're worth and increasing your confidence to charge more. Now, at this point, how is everybody feeling? You guys said we got it, we're on it earlier. I just want to check in. I know that we're also at the hour mark, a little bit over as well too. And some of you might have to bail out early. So I know we've covered a lot in a little bit of time, and this is so much to take in. There's a lot of details and you might have more questions about it and your brain could be spinning or you have to leave. So in order to address all of that, I want to just take a moment to let you know that I do have a place or an opportunity for you guys can get deeper support on this and go through this so much more thoroughly and actually get the formula and the worksheet to take you through this whole entire process that we have been talking about. I do offer a deep dive masterclass related to everything that we have been discussed. In fact, it touches on some of the things that I've been mentioning along the way. Like we actually go into the niching component and making sure that giving you some clarity around your niche so that you can design these high value packages that deliver results like we've been talking about. It walks you through step by step, like I said, in the formula worksheet on how to like price yourself right and calculate everything up. And then even in the masterclass, I also talk about how to go out and find these clients, because you guys might be thinking like, wow, Jen, you're charging like $7,800, or maybe some of you are charging more than that. And the question always becomes, well, how do I find clients that are going to be willing to pay for packages like this? So in the masterclass, I also talk about those things. And because of the webinar today, I'm doing an extra discount on the masterclass. It's normally $299, but you guys with the discount code that I put in the chat here, and here's the link, you can get an extra $100 off of it for $199, and that's available through November 1st. And here's the best part is you get a bonus business coaching session with me. So if you do the masterclass, you actually get to unlock a 45-minute coaching session with me, where we can dive into detail and like workshop some of this stuff out together after you've gone through the masterclass. And Ryan, I think it would be perfect for you, even if you haven't started your certificate or you haven't started the certification yet, because it'll give you some context going into the certification for this. So I've had practitioners and coaches at all different levels go through the masterclass and get a lot of value out of it. It gives them context to what the business aspects of doing the work looks like. So I don't want to spend too much more time here. I dropped the link and the code in the chat. Let's keep moving on. We've got a couple more slides to get through, you guys. So I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. So we just left off with like the calculation piece, right? Is how to calculate, like putting it all together. So once you put it all together, now you know how much your package is, what is the investment in this package. And this is where you could set the framework of like, this is my biggest package. So here gives me a framework where now I could create a package that's a step down from that, and then one more package that's a step down from that. So you could have 2 to 3 package offerings to meet people where they are in their health journey. So once we know, the price of the investment in our packages, that price for our packages, now we can go back to this question around your monthly income goal and how many clients do you need? So I'm going to go back up through the chat and see what some of you guys posted in here. So like Christina said that she wanted to make 30K, right? So if we just took my total transformation package as an example, it's $7,800. So in order to make 30K, Christina, if we looked at that, if you use that model exactly as it was, and you felt comfortable charging that price, then you would need to enroll, I'm like, what is the math on that? 5 clients per month to get to 30K, which probably feels pretty reasonable instead of 10 or 20, right? And then we could work backwards from there to create a strategy around how are you going to achieve that goal to enroll 5 clients. So then we want to look at the next step is, okay, what are the number of consultations that you need to have in order to reach that enrollment goal? And if you're really great at discovery calls and enrolling clients and you're attracting the right people in, maybe your enrollment rate is 50%. So if you need 5 people to enroll, that means you need 10 discovery calls, right? Versus if you're just getting started or you're working on your skills with your discovery calls, maybe your enrollment rate is 25%. So that means that you need 20 discovery calls per month. And so now we can be very strategic in our goal setting for our business and be working with our marketing and all the things that we're doing, networking to achieve those goals. And that's what helps us to create the steady revenue and the stability with our money, right? So those are the steps to getting to that goal. And then here's the secret to scaling it over time. One is to have, 1 to 3 standard packages tailored to your niche. Having organized offerings that meet your client's needs based on who your ideal client is, that addresses their struggles and unique solutions that they provide. When we have 2 to 3 standard packages, this actually simplifies the decision-making process for the client when you're in a consultation for them. And it allows you to establish an organized workflow in order to deliver exceptional customer service. So you guys heard me mentioning, having automation and systems in place. Automation and systems work best off of standardization, like a repeatable process. So when we are really clear on our niche, we can create these standard packages that's a repeatable process. And then we can template, delegate, and systematize to basically free up more time to work smarter and not harder. So when I had 42 active clients and all those things, I was still traveling the world because I had this standardization in my business to template, delegate, and automate things. I could step away from my business at any point in time and people were still getting amazing results from it. And everybody always wants to see this package menu that I have pictured here. This is actually a picture on my website. So I'm going to drop the URL here in the chat so you guys can go to that and see what it looks like on the page and kind of reference back to that. But this structure right here, creating the 3 different levels of packages, is something again that I talk about in more detail in that masterclass. and you're actually going to build your top level package in the masterclass that gives you the baseline and the framework to then build like the middle package and the smaller package, basically. And so this is where I want to answer Ryan's question and Kirsten's question. If you guys, yeah, you guys, Kristen's question are still here, is that you guys both asked about what do you do with clients after you move them through a package and they need more work? So it really, what's really cool about the packages, the package levels right here, and because they're like an ascension of each other, you know, they're for the most part contain the same things, is that if I have somebody start, let's say the Jumpstart package, and we get through 6 sessions and they need more work with me, I will upgrade them into the intensive package. So we'll take what they applied, or we'll take what they paid in the Jumpstart and we'll apply that to the intensive package. And that now unlocks another 6 sessions for them. Or, you know, if they started in the Jumpstart and then, or if they started in the intensive package and they need more time with me, then we'll take what they paid in the intensive package and apply it to the total transformation. And that will unlock more sessions for them. So I'm moving them up the levels in the package to do that deeper work. And that is really relevant when I'm working with somebody through a package and we get to the end of the package and I still need that flexibility to meet them at a cadence that works best for them. That's where that approach applies. Eventually in my business over time, I did create a membership model. So sometimes when people get through a one-on-one package with me and we're at that cadence of meeting every 4 weeks and they're doing fine with that cadence, I don't need to upgrade them into a new package. I will actually roll them into my coaching membership. And in that, they are meeting with me either monthly or quarterly based on the amount of support that they need. But that's only because I've done the deep work with them in the beginning. Nobody gets to go into my membership without actually doing one of these one-on-one packages with me. So I hope that answers the question that you guys both had about that. So once you have this starting point, this really helps you to set the bar to like keep increasing your income, keep raising that bar to financial freedom. Like we talked about with the pricing structure, picking pricing that you feel comfortable with now as you increase your confidence, your experience, as you get to like, I work with a lot of practitioners in the Mindshare community where, you know, they're at volume capacity. So we're like, we have to raise the prices. We have to raise the prices so that only the most qualified people are working with a one-on-one. And then we start to move other people into group programs, for example. So I want you guys to also note that like working one-on-one with clients in packages is the fastest path to cash. You really have to have a pretty good following and email list to create financial success with group programs. You have to have an audience to market those things too. And so if you're looking for that financial stability, then the one-on-one programs is what you want to start with. And the one-on-one programs is actually how we test and tweak our process to know how to package group programs actually. And then you implement systems like I talked about how I've scaled in my programs as well too. So that's going to about wrap it up. We hit the last 2 bullet points of the things that I promised you. And there's something that I've been talking about along the way that I want to emphasize. I want to take a moment to emphasize just a little bit more here for you guys, because there's one critical piece that you actually need in order to be successful with all the things that we just talked about, so that we've covered so far. And that is your niche. You guys kept hearing me say, like, when you know who your ideal client is, when you know who your niche is, then you're able, it's like a common person with common problems and similar solutions. You can start to see the patterns that they're showing up with, which helps you to design the packages. So the niche is like the root of your business success. Think about it like we talk about the gut is the root of all health, right? And so your niche is the gut of your business, basically. And as you can see here on the diagram, your niche drives everything in your business. It helps you to define your core marketing message. It helps you to design the one-on-one and group programs like we've been talking about this whole entire time. It also helps you to know like to figure out where you should be marketing yourself. Where are you going to find clients that are going to invest in these types of programs that you have to offer? Because when we know who our niche is, we know what social media platforms that they're spending time on, or if they're not on social media and they're doing other things, and we can be really strategic in our marketing efforts and focused in those. And knowing your niche actually helps you to deliver really great enrollment call conversations as well too. So the niche component is so critically important. And that's the other thing that I really love to teach on. And I also wanted to share some examples with you guys of like, this has not just worked for me. As I said, I've taught hundreds of other health practitioners in these tactics, and it's proven to work for others as well too. So I love like Ryan or Riley here. He just posted this in our group the other day. He basically made $11,000 in a matter of a couple of days. He said that when he started, his goal was to earn an extra $5K per month to create more work-life balance away from his brick and mortar. Basically some breathing space, and never did he imagine that things would take off so big and fast by having this type of, plan in place and structure. And Ryan here enrolled a $3,000 client. He's a brand new functional health, certified functional health trainee, basically. And Deborah also, like from an in-person talk that she did, she enrolled her version of a total transformation. So these are people that have gone through that formula. Total transformation is basically is that big package that I showed you of mine. Her pricing's a little bit different than mine and the inclusions, but these people are having great results for it. So I want to open it up again. I'm happy to stay here as long as needed to answer questions. I'm going to pull up the details about the masterclass just one more time so that you guys can grab that information as we go through questions. So Ryan, I see your question here in the chat. And if anybody else has more questions, feel free to type it in the chat or just unmute yourself and let's have a chat, a real chat. So Ryan said, if they are on the largest package, would you upgrade them to the membership from there? Yeah, Ryan. I mean, usually after I've gone through 18 sessions with somebody, they're at a really good point. That's a long time to work together. Remember, that's about 9 to 12 months in our work. And so those are the people that definitely usually roll over to the membership model. And in the membership model, they're, like I said, they're meeting with me monthly or quarterly, but they also have the option to buy additional discounted coaching sessions at any point in time. That's one of the benefits of the membership model. So if they do by chance at some moment need some extra support in between coaching sessions, they have that option available to them. Kristen said, is the deep dive masterclass live? Is that 5 consecutive hours? Great question. This is a pre-recorded masterclass. It is 5 consecutive hours. You don't have to sit down and watch the whole thing at once. Once you enroll or get access to the masterclass, you're going to get a sequence of emails. And in the very first email, it's actually going to timestamp each section of the masterclass for you. So like the first hour, for example, is us diving into the niche piece, basically. So, and there's a worksheet that goes along with it. So you could just dedicate an hour to doing that first part, work on the worksheet, figure that stuff out, and then come back to the recording. And then you're going to see the timestamp of when we work on the packages and pricing. And then after that, we talk about consultations. And then after that, we go into target market research. So it's all time-stamped for you in the emails. And like, this is the beauty of automation. You're going to see some of my automation stuff in action, basically, where you're going to get reminder emails that's going to guide you through the content. So, Ryan, I will see about getting a copy of the slides. There's definitely a replay that's going to go out tomorrow as well. Look for that tomorrow morning. And like I said, like, if you really want to dive into more detail of what we talked about, the masterclass is the best place to get into that, because you'll get the copy of the masterclass, you'll get the workbook with it to go along with everything that we actually talked about today in detail. And you get that 45-minute bonus session with me as well too. Wendy or Mary says, in your membership, are the meetings with you group sessions? Oh my gosh, I love this question, because when I first put my membership together, I was like, oh, I'm totally going to do group coaching because that's going to like be so much better for me. It's like going to free up my time. And luckily I was smart enough to survey my clients and see what they wanted in the membership. So I made up a list of all the things that I thought would be great for the membership. And I surveyed them about the things that I was considering. I surveyed them about the pricing, the coaching needs. And you know what was funny, Mary, is the group calls were the thing that they ranked the lowest. Like, I have educational webinars that I do quarterly in there. There's a Facebook group, and they were so adverse to group calls. So I'm so glad that I didn't waste my time setting that up, that I surveyed them to get that done. So whenever you guys are developing things for clients, I mean, again, yes, survey clients, like it is so important. Like, we want to go back to like, okay, let's look at the niche and like, who are they as a person? Like, what are some of their needs? And I, again, work with those like busy health-minded professionals, and that's my niche basically, who are looking for the missing pieces of their health puzzle. And so they don't really have a desire to be at group sessions. It's so funny. So I'm so glad that I surveyed. Wendy said, this is giving me clarity for sure. Yes, we have a call scheduled next week. So looking forward to meeting with you then as well too, you guys. Awesome. Well, gosh, we went so long. This is amazing. I'm so excited for all of you that you got this information. Let's see. Ryan says, do you time block to where you have time to prospect as well? Yes. So that's actually something that I cover in my business essentials program that I offer for practitioners, which if you do the masterclass, you're going to hear a little bit more about the business essentials to expand on the content and get more tools. And time blocking is very important to like how you organize your calendars for your best workflow. So if I was to show you guys my calendar right now, like I have blocks of time that I specifically work with clients, that I specifically write blogs and do marketing, that I specifically like do discovery calls or administrative things. So blocking, time blocking is definitely very important for sure. So all right, you guys, well, let's wrap here. This has been a good 80 or so minutes. I love all the questions. Again, look for the replay tomorrow. Check your email. You'll get a little text message that went out as well too, just to confirm that it's there. Check your spam if you don't see it. I really look forward to hopefully having some of these bonus sessions with you guys as part of the masterclass, and just seeing how everything goes for you. So everybody have a great evening. Thank you.